Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, "If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done." Benjamin Franklin said, "Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning." Basically, get off your duff, get to working, you've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got to do what it takes to get them. Like, subscribe, comment, show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. So, the White House has come out with a new plan to help us have more nuclear power plants. They're claiming that this is not going to help the Russians, that what they're doing is supposed to quash the need for Russian uranium. But here's the thing, via their actions, via the actions of other administrations, this does not actually look like it's going to work that way. I'm going to give you the facts here. I'm going to give you the facts of what's happening right now, our delve into nuclear or uranium refinement. We're going to talk about these things because we're going to have a problem that they're putting us into, which is needing foreign companies, because most of our uranium does not come from American sources. And we're still buying Russian uranium. So, what we're going to do is just delve into it. I'm going to go into everything that we can to show you the facts so you can be better informed as to this. I don't even want to begin to know what to call this little debacle. But let's start. Okay, so let's go over the release from the White House on this. Fact sheet. Biden-Harris administration announces new steps to bolster domestic nuclear industry and advance America's clean energy future. For decades, nuclear power has been the largest source of clean energy in the United States, accounting for 19% of total energy produced last year. The industry directly employs nearly 60,000 workers in good-paying jobs, maintains these jobs for decades, and supports hundreds of thousands of other workers. Okay, you also have to realize is that most of these workers are union workers. So that means that their dues are going to the Democrat Party. The Biden-Harris administration is today hosting a White House summit on domestic nuclear deployment, highlighting the collective progress being made from across the public and private sectors. Under President Biden's leadership, the administration has taken a number of actions to strengthen our nation's energy and economic security by reducing and putting us on a path to eliminating our reliance on Russian uranium for civil nuclear power and building a new supply chain for nuclear power. Well, actually, no. But we're going to go into that part a little bit later. Okay, the administration is announcing today the creation of a nuclear power project management and delivery working group that will draw on leading experts from across the nuclear and mega project construction industry to help identify opportunities to proactively mitigate sources of cost and schedule overrun risk. Working group members will be made up of federal government entities that doesn't help, including the White House Office of Domestic Climate Policy, the White House Office of Clean Energy Innovation and Implementation, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, and Department of Energy. In other words, a whole bunch of folks that do a lot of talking but produce nothing. The working group will engage a range of stakeholders, including project developers, engineering, procurement, and construction firms, utilities, investors, labor organizations, aka unions, academics, and NGOs. Okay, the United States Army is also announcing it will soon release requests for information to inform a deployment program for advanced reactors to power multiple Army sites in the United States. Small modular nuclear reactors and microreactors can provide defense installation resilient energy for several years and the threat of physical and cyber attack amid the threat of physical and cyber attacks, extreme weather, pandemic biothreats, and other emerging challenges that can all disrupt commercial energy networks. Okay, Department of Air Force got microreactor pathfinders at Easlon Air Force Base, and the Office of the Secretary of Defense Strategic Capabilities Office, Project PEL. Prototype, transportable microreactor prototype. The Army is taking a key role in exploring the deployment of advanced reactors. Okay, additionally, the Department of Energy released today a new primer highlighting the expected enhanced safety of advanced nuclear reactors, including the passive core cooling capabilities and advanced fuel designs. Idaho National Lab is also releasing a new advanced nuclear reactor capital cost reduction pathway tool. Palisades Nuclear Plant in Michigan would be the first U.S. nuclear plant to restart after shutting down. It's supported by a $1.5 billion conditional loan commitment from the DOE Loan Program Office to Halltech Palisades LLC. Diablo Canyon in California is leveraging DOE's Civil Nuclear Credit Program to fund the plant life extension. Inflation Reduction Act created a production tax credit, Internal Revenue Code IRC Section 45U, for existing nuclear plants, giving them more economic security to keep operating. The DOE's Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program provides significant funding for nuclear demonstration. Basically, it's a whole bunch of, hey, this is what we're attempting to do. And here's one. It says Biden-Harris administration is delivering on its promise to ensure a supply chain for reliable energy security and to reduce dependencies on Russian energy. May 13th, President Biden signed into law the Prohibiting Russian Uranium Imports Act, which imposes a ban on imported enriched uranium. Notice it said enriched uranium. Doesn't say uranium, it says enriched uranium. Centrus Energy Corporation produced the nation's first 100 kilograms of high-assay, low-enriched uranium, a crucial material required by many advanced reactor designs. That's on our tax dollars, by the way. Centrus Energy, tell me if you want me to go into the history of Centrus. It'll blow your mind a little bit. That's a whole boondoggle all to itself. X-Energy was allocated $148 million in tax credits under the qualifying Advanced Energy Project Credit Program, an advanced nuclear fuel fabrication facility. Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2024 made available $100 million for nuclear workforce training at universities. Okay, all of that. But notice, they just said enriched uranium. Realize that they said enriched. They didn't say uranium, they said enriched uranium. There is a difference. Enriched uranium actually has gone through the process of being changed. So, we're going to explore that a little bit here. Let's talk about uranium for a minute. Let's go back and let's talk about uranium for a minute. Notice I stressed that it said enriched uranium. Right now, the U.S., 83% of the U.S. mines are owned by foreign countries. Think about that for a minute. 83% of U.S. mines are not owned by U.S. companies. They're owned by foreign entities. Then take a look at the Visual Capitalist broke it down. They broke it down in a simple pie chart. U.S. buys 20% of their uranium needs from Russia. Not enriched uranium needs from Russia. we're only producing 20% of our own needs. Now go back. 27% of the needs of nuclear power in the United States is coming from U.S. mining, 83% of which is not owned by U.S. companies. And that still leaves almost half of our needs are having to be bought from other sources. Those other sources, most of which are coming from either Canada, Kazakhstan, or Africa. The African countries are not stable. They're being destabilized, whether it's coming from coups, revolutions, or China and Russia are working with these world leaders so that they're doing what they want and they're getting incentives for it. So, on top of that, the Biden administration keeps spending all this money for increasing uranium mining. One of the mines that was shut down, under the Obama administration, with Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State, wanted Russia to sign the SALT II treaty. Now, understanding how Russia has their nuclear weapons, you would understand that Russia did not need to sign the SALT II treaty and would still be abiding by the SALT II treaty without signing it. They knew this, but they talked Clinton into supporting their purchase of the Canadian company Uranium One, which had a mine in the United States. Under this agreement, that uranium was not supposed to be sold to anybody but either the U.S. or Japan. They didn't abide by that. It was found out later on that yes, they were selling it to U.S. companies, they were selling it to Japanese companies, but they were also sending some of it back home to Russia, in which they were selling it to other nations, aka Iran and all these other countries that don't get along with the United States. So, we're doing that right now. On uranium front, you have regular yellow cake uranium that is mined out of the earth, but that has to be enriched. You have two levels of enrichment, the low enriched, LEU, and the highly enriched, HEU. The low enriched is what goes into nuclear power plants. That is broken down into between LEU and HALEU, the high assay low enriched uranium. For decades, the U.S. was not able to enrich their own uranium. Why? Because before that, only the U.S. government was enriching the uranium. That part of the U.S. government broke off and became centrist. Notice I brought up centrist before. It's a whole history. It would take me a while to go through all that history. But the U.S. had been using something called gaseous diffusion. They then decided, it would be better if we broke this off. So what they did, the three plants that were using gaseous diffusion, they just completely shut them down. They didn't shut them down in a sane manner. They just shut them down. We are spending billions, and I do mean billions, in cleaning up the three areas. The Oak Ridge plant has been cleaned up, thankfully. But the Paducah and there's one other place. It's Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio. Paducah, Kentucky, and Portsmouth, Ohio. There we go. Are still being cleaned up, and it's still costing us. And this is 2 decades worth of cleanup so far, and it's still going on. So, They shut this down and they said, okay, we need to develop centrifuges to do the enrichment. Never mind the fact that we could have jump-started our enrichment process by buying centrifuges from Siemens Corporation out of Germany while we were developing our own. Instead of doing that, we had to rely on Russia and other nations to enrich our uranium. By the way, Iran is using German-made centrifuges to do their enrichment process. So if you go back to the P5+1 talks, which was Obama administration's talks with the Iranian government to get them to not build nuclear weapons, one of the P5 was Germany. The +1 in there, so it's US, Germany, Russia, Iran, Great Britain, and France. These countries were the ones. Oh, and by the way, Iran was also buying things from Great Britain and France. This is who we were thinking were going to side with us about the nuclear situation in Iran. But the highly enriched uranium, by the way, is being enriched in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Government labs are doing this, and that is specifically for our Department of Defense. So anything highly enriched, that's only being done by the government, and it's only being done in Oak Ridge. This is the situation right now as it stands with uranium in this country. Now let's go into some other details. Now, I'm going to read some stuff from the E&E News by Politico. I know it's Politico, but hilariously, they're pointing out a truth. Okay, Plant Bogtle, Bogtle, a project by Georgia Power. It's got a 7-year delay and a $35 billion price tag, more than double its initial $14 billion estimate. Oh, and the cost will be absorbed by utility ratepayers. This mega project was built with the support from $12 billion in loan guarantees from the Department of Defense or Department of Energy's Loan Programs Office. That's also supporting the revival of Palisades plant, which Holtec International aims to make the first U.S. nuclear plant to restart. Already talked about that. Westinghouse Electric Company, which developed the AP1000 reactor used in Georgia, is competing globally with Russia and China, and said Pentagon to bring on smaller reactors and microreactors. Okay, so this is all being done. It's 7 years delayed, and it's more than double how much it's going to cost. That's just one plant. Can you imagine what it's going to cost for the Palisades plant in Michigan at this time? Now, mind you, the people that are building this are more than likely union, who are getting paid, and their dues are going to the Democrat Party. And I'm not saying that they're slowing it down for that reason in any way, shape, or form. I'm saying that these are mega projects in which they've done pie in the sky dreaming about. And then take a look at the White House was talking about the COP28, Countries Launch Declaration to triple nuclear energy capacity by 2050. Okay, this was done in Dubai. The endorsing countries were United States, Armenia, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, Czech Republic, Finland, France, Ghana, Hungary, Jamaica, Japan, Republic of Korea, Moldova, Mongolia, Morocco, Netherlands, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Sweden, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, and United Kingdom. Okay, so In the declaration, recognizing the key role of nuclear energy in achieving global net zero greenhouse gas emissions / carbon neutrality by or around the mid-century, in keeping with a 1.5 Celsius limit on temperature rise within reach, and achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7. Recognizing the importance of applications of nuclear science and technology that contribute to monitoring climate change and tackling its impacts, and emphasizing the work of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Okay, I'm not going to go into the rest of this. Basically, they're saying that they're committing to work together to advance a global aspirational goal of tripling nuclear energy capacity from 2020 to 2050. Okay, this was December 1st, 2023, so they're already taking 3 years off of this. Committing to taking domestic actions to ensure nuclear power plants are operated responsibly and in line with the highest standards of safety, sustainability, all yada yada yada. Shareholders of the World Bank, international financial institutions, and regional development banks to encourage the inclusion of nuclear energy in their organization's energy lending policies as needed. Are you listening to all of this? They're saying that they're wanting to do all of this pie in the sky dream with nuclear energy, but they are not talking about that this stuff is being delayed constantly. These are big projects. We have been having so many people going to school for gender studies and racial studies and liberal arts studies, and we don't have the capability to do this without Russia. I am not wanting Russia involved in any of this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I want Russia. Russia controls 44% of global enrichment in this world. No joke. 44% of all enrichment done in the world is done by Russia. Very, very, very little of that of global enrichment is being done by the United States. You've got a situation that these countries, some of which, by the way, have Russian-built nuclear reactors in their nation, and the U.S. is saying, "Oh, we're not going to have Russia involved." No, you're not going to have Russia involved in enriched uranium. So that means U.S., okay, we've now got centrists back up to a degree. We're still going to have to rely on foreign countries to enrich some of our uranium. Other countries are going to have to rely on Russia for enrichment. Because for some reason, I don't think Slovenia or any of those other nations have a big nuclear enrichment program. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing is going to enrich Russia. I hate saying that, I really do, but it's the truth. It's a pie-in-the-sky dream, and at the end of the day, Russia, aka Putin, is going to become richer through Rosatom and the rest of his nuclear agencies. So, what is Biden's actual goal in all of this, other than to enrich unions and Russia? Because that's who's going to be the one that's going to be getting in. Those are the two that are going to get enriched the most by all of this. I guarantee you that. So, this was just some things to think about. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now.